The 32-year-old is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. He's looking at life in prison without parole or even the death penalty if he's convicted.
From a lavish Brentwood villa to the cold steel doors of Twin Towers Correctional Facility, Nick Reiner's world has completely fallen apart. This high-security jail, right in the heart of Los Angeles, is infamous not just for its strict rules, but for its harsh, almost unbearable living conditions. Broken toilets sit unrepaired for weeks, the air thick with the stench of damp mold, and the food barely edible. For someone like Nick, who spent over 30 years surrounded by comfort, money, and luxury, the sudden drop into this nightmare has been brutal. Reports say he's been breaking down inside his cell, yelling into the dark, "Let me out, I'm innocent!" His voice echoes through those grim hallways night after night, a chilling reminder of just how far he's fallen, and things could get even worse. If Nick ends up serving a life sentence, Twin Towers won't just be a stop along the way, it'll be his whole world, a place where others rarely forgive what he's accused of, and where weakness can quickly become a target. With his long struggle against addiction and his fragile mental state, Nick faces more than just time. He faces survival itself. In a place stripped of compassion and filled with hidden danger, the question isn't just what the court will decide anymore. It's whether Nick can endure what's ahead. He remains locked inside the Twin Towers Correctional Facility, one of the largest and toughest jail complexes in downtown Los Angeles. Twin Towers isn't your average jail. It's a holding ground for some of the most serious criminal defendants in Los Angeles. It's not meant for serving long sentences, but rather for waiting, trapped in limbo, where every second crawls by like an eternity. The walls seem to press in tighter each day, and the weight of what's coming next hangs heavy over everyone inside. This massive facility, designed to hold thousands, is mainly reserved for male inmates dealing with serious mental health challenges.
Death certificates obtained today from the LA County Department of Public Health state that the couple died on Sunday, December 14th, within minutes after receiving, quote, multiple sharp force injuries with a knife by another person. That person is allegedly the couple's troubled adult son, Nick.
It's also where high-profile detainees or those needing extra supervision are placed under round-the-clock watch. With its thick concrete walls, narrow hallways, and harsh fluorescent lights that never turn off, Twin Towers feels like a world with no escape. For someone like Nick, once surrounded by luxury and freedom, the shift is crushing both mentally and emotionally. Those who've seen the inside say Twin Towers ranks among the toughest and most run-down facilities in all of Los Angeles. Chronic overcrowding turns cells into suffocating boxes, tiny, damp, and stripped of natural light. It's not just the body that suffers here, it's the mind and spirit too. Every hour feels heavier than the last. Reports from inside describe horrifying sanitation conditions, mold spreading across the walls, air thick with moisture and rot, and pests that roam freely through the cell blocks. Sometimes the plumbing fails for days, sewage builds up, and inmates are left breathing through the stench. One person inside described the air as so foul it could make you sick. Even the food adds to the misery. Cold trays, rock-hard bread, and meals that look barely edible are common. Sources claim Nick often just sits staring at his plate before pushing it away, unable to eat. Life inside Twin Towers isn't just confinement, it's slow, grinding torment. "How can anyone eat this?" Nick mutters, his voice weak and tired. Skipping meals has become an unintentional habit, leaving his already fragile body even more drained. The environment around him only deepens the struggle. Most inmates in Twin Towers are facing serious charges and are hardened by years of violence, where only the strongest seem to make it through. Tension fills the air like electricity. Every glance, every word could ignite something dangerous.
The tragic downfall of Nick Reiner reads like a cautionary tale for other parents dealing with children struggling with addiction. Nick's troubles were widely known. He'd been in and out of rehab at least 18 times, starting when he was just 15 years old.
For someone like Nick, who's never had to fight to survive, each moment feels like walking on a knife's edge. Reports from inside claim he spends hours curled up in the corner of his cell, keeping to himself, hoping to stay unnoticed. But silence doesn't always mean safety. The constant sounds of yelling, metal slamming, and sudden fights echo through the corridors, leaving him sleepless and on edge. During one panic episode, he reportedly shouted, "Don't come near me," as a figure passed by his bars. For those battling addiction or mental health issues, Twin Towers becomes even more brutal. Though it's advertised as having special treatment programs, insiders say the reality is very different. Therapy is rare, medical staff are stretched thin, and medication is often used just to keep inmates calm rather than truly help them heal. Many end up trapped in a cycle of fear, confusion, and breakdowns that no one properly addresses. Criticism of the facility has been ongoing for years. Reports mention violence from staff, lack of supervision, and preventable tragedies inside cells where inmates are left alone too long. Prolonged isolation and pressure can push even the strongest minds to the edge. And for someone already fragile, it's a dangerous place to be. Nick's legal team has reportedly raised concerns about these conditions multiple times. Attorney Alan Jackson is said to have filed a petition describing the environment as excessively harsh and dangerous to Nick's well-being, but the court allegedly rejected it, insisting the facility meets minimum standards. That decision has left many fearful of what might happen next, with whispers spreading that Nick may not hold up much longer in this place. To truly understand how he ended up here, we need to look back to the world of comfort and privilege he came from.
Add to that new reports that he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia and had his medication changed recently. And it's clear the situation in the Reiners' Brentwood home was complex and potentially combustible. Rob and Michelle were open about their tireless efforts to help their son. The 2015 movie that Nick wrote and his father directed, called Being Charlie, peeled back the curtain on his addiction struggles.
Nick Reiner grew up surrounded by everything most people only dream about: luxurious Brentwood homes, Hollywood connections, and parents who adored him. His father, Rob Reiner, was a household name, and his mother, Michelle, gave him a life free of worry or struggle. For decades, Nick never had to think about money, stability, or his future. Everything was handled for him. Rob and Michelle believed love could fix anything. They spent endless amounts on private education, therapy, and rehab, determined to give Nick every chance at redemption. In their eyes, he wasn't a failure. He was a son worth saving, no matter how many times he stumbled. Even into adulthood, Nick remained under their protection, relying on their love and support to keep his world intact. Nick had no steady job, no financial duties, yet the money never stopped flowing in. Each month, his parents quietly sent funds to keep him afloat. He could vanish for weeks and then reappear, and no matter what happened, the family home was always open to him. Every time he fell, there was a safety net waiting. Every mistake was softened by love and money. Because of that, Nick's life never fully crumbled. But it never truly stood strong either. Whenever he tried to break free and find himself, it never lasted. He'd always return home, back to comfort and protection. That unconditional love, so pure in intent, slowly became a golden cage. Nick lived wrapped in luxury, but trapped by it, unable to escape the bubble his parents built around him. And it was within that very safety net that something unthinkable unfolded. Nick Reiner is accused of taking the lives of his own parents. After this shocking act, he was sent to the Twin Towers jail in Los Angeles to await trial. But for someone who had never known real struggle or discipline, that facility wasn't just a holding cell. It became the beginning of his mental unraveling. People close to the situation claim Nick's mental state has been deteriorating fast. Gone is the silent, cold figure from his arrest. Now he's reportedly caught between moments of panic, confusion, and eerie calm. Witnesses describe it like watching someone's mind split between two worlds at once. Inside that small cell, Nick's voice reportedly erupts without warning. Sometimes it's hoarse screams, other times it's rambling, broken words. "I didn't do it, it wasn't me," he repeats, over and over, like a record skipping endlessly. There are times he slams his fists on the steel door, not in anger, but in what looks like raw confusion. When guards tell him to calm down, he goes silent, then suddenly starts laughing softly to himself minutes later. The shifts are so quick and unpredictable that even seasoned staff feel uneasy. More disturbingly, Nick often talks to people who aren't there. He sits with his back against the wall, whispering to the empty air, "Mom, don't worry, I'm home." His tone turns gentle, almost childlike, as if trying to comfort himself in a world that no longer makes sense. At other times, he seems to lose track of who he is entirely. He calls himself by his parents' names, changing his voice, deep and slow one moment, fragile and trembling the next. "Dad's here. Everything's okay now," he murmurs, his eyes distant, detached from reality. These episodes don't happen constantly. They come in unpredictable waves. There are moments when Nick seems completely aware, able to answer questions clearly. But all it takes is a loud clang, echoing footsteps, or a slamming door, and he's pulled right back into that mental storm. Guards have tried to help, urging him to breathe, sit still, focus, but nothing seems to last. As soon as they turn away, he slips back into the same haunted cycle, repeating words like echoes from a world that only he can see. What disturbs many observers most is how Nick can no longer seem to separate memory from reality. The warmth of home, the safety of his parents, the comfort of his old life, they all invade his mind as though they never ended. He isn't just remembering the past anymore. He's reliving it piece by piece, inside a cold cell that no longer feels real at all. During his rare court appearances, Nick has been seen wearing a special anti-self-harm garment, a loose, shapeless vest with no strings or fasteners, designed for individuals considered at high risk of hurting themselves. That image alone, a man once surrounded by luxury now standing in plain safety fabric, paints a silent, haunting picture. It shows even the detention system fears what might happen next. Nick remains behind bars without bail as his legal process drags forward. Here, time doesn't move in normal days. It passes through medication rounds, mental checks, and long sleepless nights. Each sunrise brings more waiting for evaluations, waiting for strategy meetings, waiting for a trial that still feels far away. Twin Towers is notoriously harsh for inmates dealing with mental health struggles. The isolation, lack of real contact, and endless tension push people toward their limits fast. For Nick, already battling a long history of addiction and emotional instability, it's a brutal test of endurance. No one truly knows what goes through his mind each night as the lights stay on and the sounds of shouting echo from nearby cells. But one thing is certain. Before any judge delivers a verdict, Nick is already facing another kind of sentence, the slow, painful unraveling of his own mind. Public debate continues. Some argue about his guilt, others about his mental state. But one chilling question remains. Will Nick even be stable enough to face a jury when that day comes? And if his defense team succeeds in proving diminished capacity, does that truly mean freedom? Nick's struggles didn't start behind bars. He had already been diagnosed with a serious mental condition years before this tragedy, with countless treatments and hospital stays behind him. Just weeks before everything fell apart, a new doctor changed his medication plan, and it didn't go smoothly. Around that same time, insiders say he returned to substance use, sending his mind into deeper chaos. This mix of instability and substance use is now the foundation of his legal defense, a desperate attempt to prove that he wasn't fully in control. But what many don't realize is that such a defense doesn't lead to release. If the court accepts it, Nick wouldn't walk free. He'd be sent to a secure psychiatric facility under non-stop supervision. In such institutions, treatment can last decades, not years. Some rare individuals recover and are eventually released, but only after 20 or 30 years of intensive care. For Nick, choosing this path could mean living in an environment where time blurs, identity fades, and willpower is slowly replaced by routine and medication. The alternative is even bleaker. If convicted on 2 counts of first-degree taking of life, Nick's world would shift from waiting to permanent confinement. That would mean transfer to the California state prison system, where inmates with long or life sentences are placed under maximum control. In such facilities, isolation is the rule, not the exception. He would likely be housed in a restricted unit, minimal movement, near constant watch, and little human contact. His record would follow him everywhere. Crimes involving family members are looked down upon in prison culture, and word spreads fast. Once other inmates learn his story, Nick could find himself at the very bottom of an unforgiving hierarchy. Prison life is built on unspoken rules. And for someone like Nick, unprepared and inexperienced, every day would be a test. Violence might not always be visible, but it lurks beneath the surface, waiting for a sign of weakness. Inmates with serious charges often become targets of manipulation, bullying, and provocation. And for Nick, who spent over 30 years protected by wealth and love, this new world offers no safety nets. The walls don't care about privilege or past comfort. There's no sympathy, no softness, well, only structure, repetition, and survival. Every sound of the morning alarm, every forced meal, every order shouted across the corridor will remind him of one reality. He's no longer in the world his parents built for him. He's in a place where even small mistakes, a wrong glance, a slow response, can change everything in an instant. Prison runs on fear and force, a world without weapons, where strength, mindset, and reputation are the only real currency. You don't have to be the biggest, but you do have to prove that you can stand your ground. Knowing how to fight, being willing to defend yourself, and showing no hesitation, those are what command respect behind bars. If you can't, you're instantly placed at the bottom of the hidden social order. Nick Reiner stands tall, nearly 6'3" and weighing around 220 pounds. But those numbers don't tell the full story. That frame doesn't project hardened strength. It looks more like a body built on comfort, not survival. In prison, people read you instantly. The way you walk, the look in your eyes, your posture, even your reactions. They don't just see you, they sense you. Hurting those weaker than you is one thing. Surviving among men who've spent decades mastering power and control is something entirely different. Many inmates, not out of cruelty, but out of fear, will take advantage of anyone who looks uncertain. Inside those walls, not being intimidating enough can quickly become a serious weakness. The brutal truth? The first year changes everything. The body weakens, the mind breaks down, and the weight falls fast. Someone who walks in at over 220 pounds might drop to 155 within months, not from healthy discipline, but from stress, sleepless nights, and constant pressure. Prison doesn't have to take your life. It just has to take your time. Nick entered this world with almost nothing left. Yes, his parents were Hollywood legends, known and admired by millions, but now they're gone, and their wealth, influence, and protection vanished with them. There are no quiet checks arriving, no family members rushing to cover his needs. In prison, fame doesn't buy favors. The only question that matters is simple. What do you bring to the table? For Nick, the answer is nothing. His brothers Roy and Jake have made that crystal clear. In the few public moments they've shared, their words have focused entirely on grief for their parents, never once acknowledging Nick. That silence speaks volumes. It's not just emotional distance. It's final. A line has been drawn, sharp and unmovable. To them, Nick isn't family anymore. He's the face of an unthinkable betrayal. In prison, money isn't just comfort, it's survival. And for Nick, that survival line has been completely cut. His family's financial support is gone, and in this world, silence means everything. No visits, no letters, no cash, no protection. That total disconnection isn't just emotional, it's lethal. For someone who's spent his whole life being cared for and shielded, that silence feels like the final betrayal, the moment his last lifeline snaps. Without money, there's no shield, and without protection, Nick must walk into one of the toughest environments in America, a California maximum security prison, where everything is divided by race, power, and hierarchy. You don't earn safety through your name or past. You prove it with action. And Nick has nothing to bargain with. At first, some groups might act welcoming, but in reality, those smiles often hide calculation. A man with no influence and no money is an easy pawn. Inside, they call people like that test rats, the ones sent first to see how guards or rival gangs react. If you make it, great. If not, you're just another name crossed off a list. The only way someone like Nick can buy short-term safety is by taking the blame for things others want to hide. When guards find contraband, phones, drugs, weapons, he's the one expected to step up and confess. It's a deal that buys temporary favor, but it comes at the cost of freedom, dignity, and control. But that's not even the darkest part. Nick's real weakness has always been addiction, and behind bars, that becomes a weapon against him. In prison culture, substance dependency isn't treated with sympathy. It's seen as weakness, and weakness attracts predators. No one protects an addict. They exploit them, they pull their strings, they make them do the dirtiest work. And make no mistake, drugs behind bars aren't rare. In some cases, they're even easier to find than on the streets. But the price? Astronomical! A crumb of weed hidden in a lip balm cap can go for $50 or more. And once you want something stronger, money isn't enough. You start paying in favors, obedience, and risk. For someone like Nick, who has cravings but no cash, the spiral begins fast. First, you run errands. Then you take small risks. Holding things, standing lookout, distracting guards. Every job earns just enough for the next fix. Before long, you're not a person anymore. You're a disposable piece of the underground machine. That's how real downfall happens in prison. It's not a sudden explosion. It's a quiet, steady slide. each choice a little worse than the last until you don't even recognize yourself anymore. And when debts build up, there's no escaping them. In that world, every debt must be repaid, if not with money, then with pain, with your body, or worse. It's a cold, merciless reality, one Nick never imagined he'd face. A place where power is everything, compassion doesn't exist, and one bad choice can cost you everything you have left. In the world behind bars, reputation means nothing. It doesn't matter if you once lived in a Brentwood mansion, walked red carpets, or carried one of Hollywood's most respected last names. Inside those walls, you're just another number, and survival doesn't care who you used to be. For Nick Reiner, that reality has been crushing. The man who once lived under the glow of privilege now moves through a cold, gray world where the only things that matter are fear, strength, and endurance. No one looks at Nick and sees the son of a famous director anymore. They see an inmate accused of the most unthinkable crime, and that label sticks deeper than any tattoo. For someone like him, the path ahead isn't just hard, it's hopeless. If he keeps sliding into chaos, if the addiction, paranoia, and breakdown continue, the outcome becomes painfully predictable. It might not happen tomorrow or even next year, but one day his name could flash across a headline again, attached to a story no one wanted to believe but everyone expected. The tragic end of Nick Reiner. That's how it would read. Another grim chapter in a saga that already feels written in pain. Once, his life was filled with family dinners, laughter, and quiet forgiveness. Now, it's replaced by fluorescent lights that never turn off, echoing voices through concrete halls and the endless clanging of steel doors. Nick Reiner is no longer the boy wrapped in Hollywood luxury. He's the man left alone with the ghosts of his choices. And in that silence, there's no applause, no sympathy, only the cold weight of consequence pressing down, day after day. His mind has become its own prison, locked in a cycle of regret and confusion. For many watching from the outside, this feels like poetic justice, a punishment that fits the crime. But for others, it raises deeper, more haunting questions. How much suffering is enough? Can justice truly be measured by how much pain someone endures? Inside Twin Towers, time doesn't move normally. It stretches, bends, and loops, trapping inmates in endless repetition. For Nick, each day must feel identical to the one before. The same tasteless meals, the same sterile walls, the same sound of distant shouting that never stops. There's no warmth, no change, no sign of the world he once knew. Just long, heavy hours of waiting for a trial, for news, for something that might never come. People on the outside might see this as fair. But behind those bars, punishment becomes something far more complex. Isolation eats away at the mind, and the human spirit withers slowly, almost invisibly. That's the part of the story few ever see. Not the verdicts or the headlines, but the quiet collapse that happens when a person is left too long with nothing but their own guilt and memories. Those memories are relentless. They play on repeat. His parents' voices, their laughter, their protection, the world they built for him piece by piece. That world is gone, and he's the reason why. That's the cruelest punishment of all, knowing that no matter what happens in court, he's already lost everything that ever mattered. Even if Nick Reiner somehow avoided the harshest sentence, the truth is that freedom would never really belong to him again. The name Reiner would follow him everywhere, not as a badge of fame, but as a reminder of the darkness that destroyed a family. Every story written about him would carry that shadow. Every whisper would drag his past into the light again. In a way, his sentence has already begun. The slow erasure of his identity, his reputation, and his place in the world. Still, there's one question that keeps echoing through public debate. Is Nick's downfall simply justice served, or is it something deeper? A tragedy born from years of silence, privilege, and unhealed wounds. Some point to his history of mental illness, the years of therapy, the revolving door of rehab centers. They say this wasn't just evil. It was a long collapse that no one managed to stop. Others argue that no condition, no struggle can ever excuse what happened. They see his punishment not as cruelty, but as balance, a life traded for two others. But maybe the truth lies somewhere in between. Maybe this story isn't just about right or wrong. It's about what happens when love replaces boundaries, when protection turns into enablement, and when a lifetime of being saved leaves someone unable to save themselves. Inside those walls, the debate doesn't matter. The court of public opinion fades into whispers. The only thing that counts is survival. Nick wakes up each morning to the same reality. The hum of flickering lights, the echo of metal doors, the sound of distant footsteps pacing the hallway. The days melt into one another and even the guards stop calling you by name. You become invisible, forgotten, a shadow of who you were. There's a saying among inmates: prison doesn't kill you fast, it kills you slow. For Nick, that may already be happening. His breakdowns, his confusion, his withdrawal from reality, they're the signs of someone fading away long before their sentence ends. The body remains, but the spirit dissolves, one sleepless night at a time. And as the world outside moves on, his story becomes just another case file, another crime documentary, another headline. But behind those headlines lies something no one can truly measure: the human cost. The collapse of a family that once symbolized Hollywood success, now remembered through a tragedy too heavy for anyone to fully understand. Justice and tragedy have never been easy to separate. For some, this is justice, pure and final. For others, it's a haunting example of how the system handles broken minds. But no matter which side you're on, the end is the same. There's no happy ending here, no redemption arc, no curtain call, just silence. Endless, heavy silence. And maybe that silence is the real punishment. Not the walls, not the bars, not the sentence, but the awareness that the world has already moved on without you. That every memory you have left hurts to remember. That every sound echoes like a reminder of what can never be undone. So, what do you think? Is this the justice Nick Reiner deserves? Or a tragedy that grew out of something far deeper than anyone realized? Does a life sentence really end the pain? Or does it just stretch it out forever? One day, one breath, one sleepless night at a time? Let us know your thoughts below. Share your take, your feelings, your perspective. And if you're drawn to stories that dig deep into the human side of crime, law, and psychology, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. Hit that bell so you never miss what's coming next, because this story might be over, but the truth behind it is just beginning. See you on the next one.